So I just want to say thank you to all the players, mostly. Pull it together, Lindsey.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Allie.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are talking internationals, baby. So much happened this week. We had the send-off games for two US legends. We have the UEFA Nations Tournament, which is going to help decipher Olympic places. We had suspected penalties. We had fouls. We had everything this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, enough said. That's really it. I'm so excited to get into this.
However, before we get into the action of the weekend, we just wanted to say on behalf of the Women's Soccer Show, we were saddened to hear the passing of the Sheffield United player Maddie Cusack, who passed away on Thursday. We just wanted to extend our love and sympathies to her teammates, her friends, and her family. So, we must talk about the big talking point of the weekend, which was the send-off games for two US legends. Sarah, have you pulled yourself together yet?
I don't even think that was enough energy to dedicate to intro to this topic. This is massive. No, I absolutely haven't pulled myself together yet. I wrote an article that's probably going to be out by the time this episode drops. And I had to stop myself from just I felt myself writing through and then remember when Megan Rapinoe crossed the ball to Abby Wambach and it sent us into penalty kicks. And I was just you got to pull yourself together. Nobody wants to read about you recapping the singular cross that you associate with the greatest Megan Rapinoe moment on the field.
Is there a competition? Is there a level of which one you're going to miss more? Or is it just both?
It was
equal?
It was just so sad. It was sad, but it was happy, which is why I'm excited to talk about this, because it was a very poetic changing of the guards and turning of a chapter that was very needed, first of all, and also just seemed to really fit. And yeah, I mean, I didn't really process what we were going into. I was definitely taking it game by game. So it was Julie Ertz's game, and I was so devastatingly sad. And then when that ended, I was oh my God, I'm going to have to do this again in 3 days with Megan Rapinoe. I can't handle that.
Yeah, for anybody who's been living under a rock, we are, of course, talking about the send-off and retirement of Julie
Yes,
Ertz.
thank you. I'm deep in my feelings, and you're so let's recap for a second. There were two games, and there was an opponent as well. There wasn't just the U.S. playing.
Yeah, it wasn't a scrimmage between the US. It was the US versus South Africa. They played two games against each other. And yeah, I thought it was a pretty brilliant send-off for two brilliant players. I think
it really was. And there's a lot more to talk about. I will say, for those of you listening, obviously we're going to talk about Julie Ertz and Megan Rapinoe, and let's do that first. And then we're going to talk about the games, because there's a lot to dissect and digest and talk about. US beat South Africa 3-0 on Thursday and then 2-0 on Sunday. And it was one of the best showings I've seen from the US in quite a while, to be totally honest. But we can't move into the game without talking about these two. And let's start with the first game, which was Julie Ertz's last game. And she's not doing what Megan Rapinoe's doing. Rapinoe's finishing out the NWSL season. This was Julie Ertz's final professional game, period. So let's just take a moment to send this legend off, because I don't say these words lightly. Julie Ertz is one of the best competitors this game has ever seen.
Yeah, I saw a tweet which somebody said, which I agreed with, which is the US national team will not have a number 6 that good for a very long time.
Listen, I don't know if anybody will have a number 6 that good for a very long time. In my opinion, since she set foot on the scene as the number 6, she has been the top number 6 in the world. And that's it. She is uncomparable. There's a map that's circulating on Twitter, and it's from an England versus US game in 2019. And there's little red dots for all of England's touches. Anytime they touch the ball on the field, all of their touches. And there's a big gap right above the 18-yard box. There's just a circle. And the tweet just says, this is England's touches in, the US versus England game in 2019. guess where Julie Ertz plays? And like, if that doesn't sum it up, I don't know what does. She just is that competitor. You know what you're going to get every time. There's just a sense of calm that you have when you watch her, because she will bring the best type of competition to the field. She brings the joy. She embodies a teammate. She will do all of the dirty work and doesn't need the limelight, but she's also not afraid of it. She is just, I just love her, and I was not emotionally prepared for only to play 35 minutes, and when she got taken off, I lost it.
I was gonna say, like, it's a friendly, like, this is not even like CONCACAF. This didn't really have any consequence. What harm would it have been to get her to see out the 90, or even some more, like, if you don't want her to see out the 90, at least give her like a half.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't ask the question on the presser, but I can imagine what happened is, because she's not playing for an NWSL team, she actually hadn't played since the last game of the World Cup. So she's not 90 minutes fit. She probably didn't want to get hurt, and that's what was decided on between her and the coaching staff. And she seemed very happy. There's, a video of her talking to Aubrey Kingsbury on the bench, and the lip readers are saying she's just sitting there saying, like, I just feel very peaceful. And that's all you can really ask. But she will be missed. I will say, like, a good transition into talking about Pinoe is a really common thread. I was on the post-game press conference after Megan Rapinoe's last game on Sunday, and Twyla Kilgore, the interim head coach of the U.S. women's national team, was talking about how both of these players really emphasized to everybody when they were leaving, like, don't try to be me. Nobody's trying to fill my shoes. Like, be you. And that's such an important message, especially after, the chaos that we saw basically of like Vlatko Andonovski trying to essentially replace 1-for-1 Julie Ertz, and knowing that it was never going to work, right? And that's just what it is. So Julie Ertz said, I'll quote right here. She said, quote, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And she said that in the context of, like, that she's not looking for other people to be her, that there's so much magic and talent in this team just from people being who they are. And I thought that was a really beautiful transition also into just, Megan Rapinoe, because Megan Rapinoe just champions people to be who they are. And what's beautiful about her is that she's probably already better known for what she's done off the field than what she's done between the two white lines.
I was going to say, I do associate her more with her activism, and unlike other people, I see it as a positive thing. But yeah, for me, like, she was one of the first white players to take the knee and continue to take the knee. She's been outspoken on gay and trans rights. She has been a voice for good for so long, when it wasn't popular to be that voice for good. So I love activist Rapinoe, and I think now she's retiring, she's going to spend more time being that activist and that voice with her and her partner, Sue Bird. So I am excited to see what properly political Pinoe can do.
I have so much to say. First of all, you mentioned Sue Bird. When they kissed on national TV before the game, because they did like a little ceremony and they kissed twice on TV, and watching that and then hearing the crowd just like screaming for joy that they kissed on TV, it made my heart happy. I also just I love that you brought up the kneeling. I've seen a lot of players that I know, a lot of Black players and a lot of Black people in the soccer community specifically comment on that and really say, like, thank you for doing that when the Black players on your team couldn't. And
exactly, like, she used white privilege in a great way.
Yeah, and it's really easy to forget that she got cut from the team for 2 years after that. Like, she suffered a consequence. She was able to claw her way back in, but it's easy to forget that. And yeah, I mean, Megan Rapinoe was very outspoken on her last press conference that what matters most to her is the work she's done off the field and like the change she's been able to affect and how she's been able to just inspire people to be themselves. And it was really beautiful to hear her talk about. And the part that made me start to cry is when she teared up talking about Becky Sauerbrunn and what they've been through together. And when she just said, like, whoever's wearing that badge, I don't care, like, Becky's my captain, I lost it.
I have to say, on a selfish note, that I am going to be inconsolable when Becky Sauerbrunn hangs up her boots.
Yeah, we all are.
Even as a Brit, I'm like, no, she has to go on forever.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about some games? Shall we
Yes.
actually get into what happened against South Africa? Because as we alluded to before, it was glimpses of USA old. It was the best performance I've seen from the USA in a very long time. I know you said that it was as well. So let's talk about some highlights. I am going to say that, as we alluded to in the World Cup, Sonnet was the answer. Emily Sonnet, I thought, had a cracking games and was like on fire.
Sonnet getting her second and third ever starts in the center midfield.
Yep.
The first, of course, being in that final game versus Sweden in the World Cup. Sonnet was fantastic. I thought she was great, and she was absolutely one of the bright spots for the U.S. But frankly, it's hard to say all the bright spots. There were a ton of them. And I'll call out a couple. Trinity Rodman scored a goal in each game. Lynn Williams has always been a bright spot, but she had a brace. And then specifically, Mia Fischel, I really need to talk about. This is a young, talented player who was playing for Tigres and is now about to start her first WSL season under Emma Hayes. And she come on the field. She got her first cap on Sunday in the second game when the U.S. won 2-0. And she played with the confidence and just like a stillness in the best way, in the creativity that I feel like is generally only seen and gained from experience. And to see her on the field, she was a standout player for me. She played for about 35 minutes, and she was a standout player. And to see that, and to see how she was able to connect with players who she's only been in training with for 3 days, was just, I think that a lot of U.S. fans were left with a really positive feeling for a lot of reasons, and she was one of them. Now, I will say, I do believe, obviously, everything we just talked about, that the future of the U.S. women's national team is bright. And I want to point something out because, Vlad Koyanovsky got a lot of crap, and rightfully so. I'm not defending him whatsoever. But I do want to just point out quickly that I do believe that the quote-unquote problems that the U.S. are experiencing, it goes deeper than the senior level. And it goes deeper than just Vlad Koyanovsky handling the transition wrong. Did he handle it wrong? Yes. Did we see results because of that, or did we not see results because of that? Yes. And also, it's starting to be talked about more kind of during the games from Julie Foudy, so I feel like it's worth commenting on here. The structure of U.S. soccer and the entire system starting at the youth levels, it needs to be looked at, and specifically as it pertains to coaches. I think there's a reason why most of the coaches who are on the top of the list to take over for the U.S. women's national team are English or just not from the U.S. There's a big reason for that, and a lot of it is the quality of the licensing and so on and so forth, but a lot can be seen when you look at a country's U20 World Cup team and where they're placing. Now, this obviously doesn't say everything, but so the U20 World Cup, it's played every 2 years. So we'll have our next one in 2024. Previous to that, in 2022, Spain won the U20 World Cup. Previous to that, in 2018, Spain got silver and England got bronze. And I that it's not a coincidence that those are the two teams we just saw in the final of the 2023 Women's World Cup. The U.S. in 2022 and 2018 were out in the group stage. They got fourth place in 2016, and the last time they placed first was in 2012. And I think that says a lot, and that just speaks to where the system is at. It's not just a problem at the top. And if something's going to be fixed fully, just like you did in the NWSL, you gotta go to the root. You gotta gut it, and you gotta change the root problem. And So do I think that this is a quick turnaround for the U.S. women's national team back to the top of the podium? I don't. I think this is more of like a 1999 to 2015, maybe 4 World Cups have to pass until you get back to the top of the podium. But the good news is 1 down, so maybe 3 to go, everybody. From the US of A over to England, the second game that we are going to chat about is, of course, the Lionesses. Now, I have a bit of a gripe because this was on during a very normal time of the day here in the US, and yet it was not played anywhere. My friend had to send me an illegal stream, and by the way, you didn't hear that from me. And even that wasn't really working, so sadly, I didn't really get to watch this game. But nonetheless, England took the win narrowly, 2-1 against Scotland in the UEFA Nations League. Allie, let's start there. UEFA Women's Nations League. Some people might not have heard of this. What is that?
Okay, so we have taken a leaf out of the USA's book and made something extremely complicated. I say we, UEFA have. So basically, to end qualification rugby scores, because we're seeing like England playing Latvia and beating them 20-0, which doesn't help either team because it doesn't help build Latvia, and England just use it as like a training game practically. The UEFA have come up with a similar tournament that they have for the men. So there's going to be 3 different groups which are seeded. So basically Group A is your England's, your Scotland's, your France's, Spain's, that lot. You've then got your Group B, which are your middle nations, and then you've got your Group C, which are ones that are up and coming and need the support to play teams of a equal level. Now, Group A is going to be used for qualifications. So in this tournament, it's going to be used for Olympic qualifications. So it's going to be used to see who gets UEFA's places in the 2025 Olympics.
So, you mean 2024 Olympics in Paris?
2024, yes, sorry,
so
2024.
If it's for Olympic qualification and Team GB is playing in the Olympics and not England, why are England playing Scotland?
That's it, because for reasons unbeknown to anybody, only England can get Team GB qualification.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
It is stupid. It's so stupid. But I think it's to do with placings, rankings, whatever it is. But basically, England have to do well.
Do you know how mad I would be if I was anyone in the UK, except for England?
Well, that's it, because like I mentioned it earlier, and we'll get onto it, but like people like Caroline Weir, who is likely to get into Team GB, and Hansen and Martha Thomas, they're playing against themselves because only the top team progresses to the semi-finals and then the final. So if they top their group,
If Scotland top their group, Team GB doesn't make the Olympics. Well, go Scotland. If you're listening to this and you know the reason, and it's a legitimate reason and not a stupid reason, please reach out to us.
I will say before we get into the game, the other thing that's been drawn in criticism is the timing of it, because it's not been that long after the World Cup. We've had some players already go back to play Champions League qualifier games. There is another game which will have happened at the time of recording. It's on the Tuesday between us.
It's the Netherlands versus England. Will have played yesterday when you're listening to this on Wednesday. Yeah.
And then the WSL starts, as do most of the European leagues, on Sunday. So
welcome to be a women's soccer player, you know, it's literally nonstop.
Yeah, but it's also the timing of it, because the fact that they're going to have to jump in with their club teams with 4 days. It's just the timing of it is a bit sus.
All right, so let's talk about it. England versus Scotland. Like you mentioned, this is really close to the World Cup, so I don't feel that there's too deep of a dive to do. This is the first game England has played since, coming in second, losing that final match. Sorry to bring it up again. What did you see from England?
You know what? It was scrappy, but the first half was great. I thought it was, the England we've been seeing momentum. Second half, less so much. Again, the biggest problem we've got, and it's the same problem we saw with the US and Juliet, is Kira Walsh is a key playmaker for us. And when she's not playing, there is something missing. And you know what? I give her a lot of stick, but Katie Zellum did a fine job. You know what? She was decent, but she is not Kira Walsh, and few are. And there were certain bits in the middle, especially between like Bright, midfield, and Stanway, that Zellum didn't quite hit. And I think that comes from not playing with the team, like experience-wise, whatever it was. But yeah, we were missing that Walsh middle piece.
We have to talk about some of these goals, though, because the highlights I was seeing online, it's absolutely wild. 2 diving headers in this game?
Yes, 2 diving headers, which, as Lauren Hemp said, it's the finest header she'll ever score.
I believe that. I rarely see Lauren Hemp head the ball. But Lucy Bronze also full extension, laying out. I think her body was literally parallel to the ground when she hit that with her head. Just incredible goals scored from England. And I think that's also a testament to Scotland. Like, that's the extent that they had to push England, that England had to go to just to get a couple goals. But here we are, and 2. Honestly, I know we reserve the word worldy for, you know, a hit from far away, but these were worldies. These were world-class goals. If you're from the US, they're SportsCenter top 10. They're epic. Incredible goals. Let's talk about Scotland.
Yes, because we want to talk about worldies. Kirsty Hansen's goal was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's so true.
Was phenomenal. The work, like, I will say, the best thing she ever did was go to Villa.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing she ever did was go to Villa, because she was being overlooked at Man United. Not by the fans, I will say that before you come for me. Not by the fans, but she wasn't a favourite of Stoney's towards the end, and definitely not of Skinner's. So she went to Villa to get some minutes, and boy, what that has done. You know, that has brought out the innateness of Kirsty Hansen. So I have to say, shout out to her.
I love to see her succeed. When she is firing, she is on. And there were moments under Casey Stoney where, frankly, I thought Kirsty Hansen was the best player on the field in certain times. So I'm so happy to see her thriving. But, oof, yeah, what a goal. And then, I mean, Caroline Weir, like you said, best way to say it, she scores worldies for fun. She got unlucky.
Yeah, she was so unlucky. You know, it was Merps being Merps,
Yeah.
to be honest, to deny her. But on any other day, that would have gone in. I will say we had a great moment. Very similar to the Jill Scott, Mary Earps moments we've had in Euros and World Cups, which was Martha Thomas is coming off the pitch, and I don't know what she's referring to, but you can audibly hear her go, well, that's effing embarrassing.
I love when the hot mic just picks up something. It's so good. And before we move on, in positive Team GB news, should England qualify, Serena Wegman will be the coach of Team GB should they enter the Olympics, which will obviously be a blast and is just, you know, good news for anybody who's hoping that she'll stay in England, and bad news for anybody who's hoping she'll come to the US. I think we need to let that one go, everybody. All right, let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world. International edition.
So, keeping up with the UEFA nations, all of the leagues kicked off the tournament this weekend. In League A, Belgium took on the Netherlands, and despite going a goal down, they pulled it back with a quick equaliser and an extra time winner, which means they topped their group. Denmark pulled a surprising win over Germany, who are still suffering from a World Cup hangover, it seems. A brace from Vangsgaard saw the Danes see out the win, and they also topped their group. France also beat Portugal by 2 goals on Friday to keep them top. However, as they are the Olympic host nation, their spot is guaranteed. Therefore, if they are to reach the final, the 2 other spots go to the finalist, and whoever wins the 3rd place playoff. The second round of games will take place between now and this podcast release.
And finally, to CONCACAF. Canada took on Jamaica in their bid for a place in 2024. A 2-0 win saw the North American country one step closer to that dream. They take each other on, again, in between this recording and when this podcast will be released. Now, this is an aggregate. So Canada is up 2-0 right now in aggregate, and we will take the aggregate score after that second game.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
And the final piece of international that we're going to talk about here before we move on to WSL predictions, which I know everybody wants to hear, is, of course, the latest on Spain. Now, hopefully the news out of the Spain camp is slowing down for a good reason, but there's a lot to update on, a lot of news since last Wednesday, since our last release. So we're just going to give you as brief as we can lowdown, while also giving you the details and information that you need to keep up with this ever-evolving story, because it's moving quickly, and it is certainly very hard to keep up with.
Absolutely. So this is all coming out from, anybody didn't know, they had a mega meeting before they played Sweden. So the big reason is the older players wanted to name and shame the people of what had happened with their federation and who they wanted out of their federation. The younger players, less so, wanted to be a bit more cautious, which is understandable, to be honest.
So, yeah, in the fear that the younger players would kind of succumb, the team confronted this new coach, Tomé, who we've spoken about, who I hope won't be there for a very long time. Now, the meeting lasted 9 hours. It ended at 6 a.m. Alexia Putellas, Adrian Paredes, and Misa Rodriguez were apparently the players at the forefront, as reported by The Athletic, of these negotiations, and they kind of served as the bridge between their teammates and the federation in these conversations. And eventually, finally, by 6 a.m., a decision was made by all of the players to stay, except for two, and that is Mape Leon and Patri Guiaro, who both chose to leave. And the press caught up with them when they were leaving. We don't have a ton of information, but they did speak to the media and kind of explain why they were leaving specifically.
Yes, so they stated that they left stating that their state of mind did not allow them to continue. Leon said, "It's really that our situation is different from the rest of our colleagues. We know that they have been no ways or means of returning. All of this is a process. We are happy because it is true that the changes are occurring. We have arrived at another port, and this is where we are supporting our colleagues." Patri said that they are working on those changes. Yesterday we managed to reach that mixed commission, and we are with our colleagues. Obviously, because of how everything has occurred, mentally you are not able to be there. Leon followed up with, all of these little things are being done. Our situation is different, and we need to see an adaptation of process.
So obviously that's translated, but I think we can all kind of understand. And the way I read that and the way I hear that, Allie, I don't know about you, is just that the terms that they came to were good enough for most people, but we still don't necessarily trust that these changes will be made, and we need to see it before we can actually believe it. So we're still out.
Yes.
So the National Sports Council is called the CSD, and the CSD has essentially been called out by Erin Paredes. She came in and just said, like, the CSD is late. They are there to support players, and they've only recently stepped in to help players. And part of this is the help that players needed when they got called into camp, and they didn't want to go, but they were threatened with legal repercussions, as in not being able to play professional soccer again should they not report. And so Erin Paredes has called out the CSD that they were late to step in, but the CSD finally did step in, and they said that Mape Leon and Guiaro and anybody who chooses to leave camp can do so and be guaranteed that they will not be sanctioned. So if you're hearing that Mape Leon and Guiaro left camp and we're worried about if they can play again, they are all good. And unfortunately, that is not where the story ends.
No, it's a never-ending saga, these poor players.
Yeah. I mean, Hervé Renard the French head coach, was quoted this week saying essentially, I don't have the quote pulled up, so it's not a direct quote, but he basically said, I don't want to talk about that. I just want to focus on football. And the privilege of that can only come from like a male footballer. And it's that's what's the most disappointing about all this is we saw these players on the world stage and they can't celebrate it. They still are dealing with this fallout in the biggest way.
Yeah, it was similar to the Spanish men's team said exactly the same thing. They're saying, we don't want to get political, we just want to play the game. It's like, well, good for you that you can.
Yeah, congratulations about that. So there have been a lot of meetings. Players were asking for reassurance that the changes that they were told were going to be implemented would actually be implemented because they didn't necessarily believe that. And then right off of the bat, the players were told that because of the meeting that ran until 6 a.m. and nobody got any sleep, they weren't going to train that afternoon. And then later that afternoon, they were forced to have a training session. So, this is the state that we're in right now. Obviously, the Spanish players have been speaking to the media quite a bit. Alexia Putellas she said, quote, "We're not staying because we're comfortable," after the first training session. So it seems the vibe of, we know what we're in for and we're still going to continue to fight, but we want to stay and we want to play as well. But I will say one of the non-negotiables from these players is that Camps, who was the RFEF Secretary General, who was basically Rubiales' right-hand man, he was dismissed. That was a non-negotiable by the players. They said they wouldn't return to the field until he was. So he is officially gone. And all of this happened while they were supposed to be focusing on training camp. And then finally, they're able to get on a plane and go to Sweden for the match that they're supposed to be playing.
So coming out of this training camp, players are saying they've only managed to get 4 hours of sleep due to all of the discussions and the stress and everything else. However, they did manage to pull out a victory over Sweden, which is allowing them to get that one step closer to Olympic qualification.
In a beautiful moment between the two teams ahead of the game where they came together at center field and they had a big banner that said "Se acabó." So players standing with players, and good on the Swedes for, standing up with the Spanish players who'd been through a lot just to be at that game. And the fact that they were able to win that, again, it just speaks to the talent that this team really has. So we will keep everybody updated. Hopefully there's not more news, because that's hopefully good news if there's not more news. But that is the latest on Spain. And finally, away from international and on to club. The NWSL returns this weekend after the international break, and the WSL kicks off on Sunday, October 1st. Massive matchups to start. Allie, which matchup are you most excited for opening weekend?
All of them. I have missed the WSL so much. I'm like, just watch them simultaneously.
You have to pick one and it can't be West Ham.
What? I mean, I'm not looking forward to that because we're playing City, so...
I actually think that you could pull off the upset to City first game of the season.
Okay, so if I'm not allowed to pick my own team, I'm going to say for me, the one that I am looking forward to is Villa versus Man United.
Yeah, me too. That's a fun one to start the season.
Yeah, it's the first game of the actual season, but we've picked them as being the best in terms of transfer windows. So to see those new signings match up, for me, it's got to be, Man United versus Villa.
And that game will be played at Villa Park. The club's, what do we want to call it? Bigger stadium? I don't really want to say, I guess the men's stadium. That is not the only one that is going to be played at a larger venue. Arsenal are going to be playing at the Emirates, Chelsea at Stamford Bridge.
And Bristol will be playing at Ashton Gate, which is their bigger stadium as well.
I love it. Why not come in with a bang, Bristol City? Your first game back in the WSL. Let's do it big. Now, we're going to do predictions here, but I do have a bone to pick with the WSL because on Twitter, the Barclays, it's technically the Barclays WSL, the Barclays Women's Super League. And
yes.
They tweeted, "Is everybody excited for the BWSL?" I had a physiological response to this.
Yeah, you were not happy.
I was not happy about it. Listen. The BWSL is not happening. Do you like it? I can't stand it. I would rather we go back to the FAWSL and call it the FAWSL than start with the BWSL. Let's do predictions for this 2023 through 2024 WSL season. And we'll start off with the winner of the league. Who takes it?
As much as it pains me to say it, I think it's going to be Man United.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they've made the moves.
Okay. I think it's going to be Arsenal.
Oh.
I don't say that in a biased way. I think they have made some of the best moves. Cooney Cross, when they get Williamson back, they'll have Miedema back, they'll have Mead back, and you add that to the mix that they already had. I think that this team, it's finally Arsenal's time again. It's their time.
I disagree because I can see them picking up more injuries because of the way
Well,
that they
don't
train.
put that out. Don't put that out into the universe.
I'm sorry, Arsenal fans, but until you figure out your conditioning.
Now, you obviously have United finishing in the top 3. You have them finishing at number 1. Who finishes below them in the top 3 for you?
Chelsea, Arsenal in either combination.
Okay. I have the same top 3. I do. I'll go. You know what? I'm going to throw a little curveball. I'm going to be crazy for a second. Arsenal, United, Chelsea.
Oh.
That's what we're going to do here. I think it can happen. I will say, actually, you know what? I'll save that for the surprise of the season.
I'm saying it because I agree with you in the fact that I think Chelsea are going to, again, go hand over fist for the Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
It is like Emma Hayes' Moby Dick. It is her, crocodile from Peter Pan. She wants this so badly. And you can see that with the signings that they've made as well. They've gone for experience in that league. They've gone for a bright talent, like we mentioned with Mia. So for me, I think that's going to be like Emma Hayes, because you know what? She's won the league 4 times over. She's won the FA Cup, goodness knows how many times. She's won, the Conti Cup however many times. But the Champions League still eludes her. So I think the league will fall to the wayside slightly if it means that she can get that Champions League.
And you know what? There's some brilliant players on that team, and they signed also brilliant players. But I do think we will see them missing the staples of Pernille Harder and Magda Eriksson. I really do.
And Kirby's still an if, but with fitness and stuff like that. So yeah, so I agree.
So from the top 3 to the bottom, who will we say goodbye to this season? Who do you predict to be relegated?
Makes me sad, but I think Bristol are going to go straight back down.
You do. I think that they'll stay up. I think we're going to say goodbye to Brighton. They narrowly escaped last time, and I think that it might just be their moment.
Yeah, but they've made some crazy signings. They have made some crazy signings. I think it's going to be Bristol. I don't say that lightly, but I was on the pitch. I laced up my boots. West Ham played them in a pre-season friendly, and yeah, we battered them 3-0. And considering West Ham's form last season, that does take some doing for us to do that. So I did see them in form. They've got some good players, but I don't think it's gelling yet. So it makes me sad, but I think that will be their swan song.
All right, quick hits. Golden Boot.
Bunny Shaw.
Took the answer right out of me. I'm going for Bunny Shaw as well. I have to. It's also what I would like to see. No offense to Rachel Daly, just Bunny Shaw had such a great year last year, and I didn't ever feel like she got the accolades for it, and I would love her to have that same year and really get the accolades for it. Golden Glove, listen, this is an easy one for me. One of the best keepers in the world right now, I think it's going to be Mary Earps, and I think if United are going to do well, she's going to have that type of a season again.
I'm going to go crazy and back my own keeper, Mackenzie Arnold.
That's not crazy after what we just saw in the World Cup.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
and the fact
not
we managed to
crazy at
keep her, like touch wood, we've managed to keep her for this season bodes well. So yeah, I'm going to go with Macca.
Should I go crazy and say Tullis Joyce because Merps won't? No, I'm just kidding.
Can you imagine? Be like, sorry,
Plug
Merps.
your ears, United fans. All right, our final question is the surprise of the season.
I don't know if this is surprising or not, but I'm going with the bold prediction that Manchester City won't be anywhere near the top 3. I'm talking
That's actually similar to what
I'm
I'm
talking mid-table, baby. Yeah. I'm like thinking.
Give us a number. Give us a number out of 12.
Based on form of other teams, I'm going to go 6th.
Oh, okay. I have them in 5th, I think, because my surprise is kind of twofold. The first is that I do think Villa will be able to somewhat battle for the top 3. I do think they'll be in that battle for the 3 spot. I think they'll end up in the 4 spot. And I think City will be just below them. But I could easily see City falling maybe one more. But I think that, they do still have some incredible talent on that team. So I don't see them falling all too far. And I don't know. I think that another surprise, is it a surprise of the season? Could it ever be? Tottenham is always a surprise of the season, no matter how they do. If they do well, I'm surprised. If they do poorly, I'm surprised. I'm very confused by this team. I think Tottenham will surprise me. How? I'm not entirely sure yet this year. But they always do. And I do think it might be in the negative way where we actually see them trying to climb out of the bottom, as opposed to a mid-table Tottenham that we're more used to seeing.
Ooh.
I'm really not trying to hate on Tottenham fans. Like, I'm really pulling for your team to put the money where it needs to go, but it's not there yet.
I just realised, we're listening to this, poor Tottenham fans, because you've got an Arsenal fan and a West Ham fan.
I really don't have a problem with Tottenham. I really, really don't. I mean,
we're not anti-Spurs, honest.
No, truly. I genuinely mean it, that I have a problem with whoever's pulling the strings, frankly. I don't have a problem with the team or the players, and I think that they're going to have a lot of goals on the season, but I think that they're going to concede a lot of goals on this season.
Yes, sadly, I think you're right.
And finally, us here at the Women's Soccer Show are doing a Women's Soccer Show WSL Fantasy League. Check out our socials for more details, but essentially this is going to be through sheplays.com. You can check out them on social, or you can go to sheplays.com and you will find them. They're an awesome Australian-based company. We will post the code to use to play with us and the Women's Soccer Show community on social. So essentially, I'm going to join, Allie's going to join, Mike, our editor's really pumped to play fantasy, and then hopefully all of you who are listening will join on in and we will play fantasy together. I've never played fantasy soccer, so I'm probably going to be really bad at this. I don't know how the points work. I don't know anything.
My problem is I get too loyal, so I'm I will have no Spurs, I will have no Chelsea in my team, and then it completely bottoms out because I'm of course you want Kerr in your team, but I'm no.
Yeah, no, I've done that before. The few times I've played fantasy, I've made a moral stand and then really lost. Not this year. I won't be doing it in the WSL because my allegiances really don't run all that deep, so I think it'll be pretty easy for me to just be let's try to win here. So nevertheless, join this fantasy league with us. We're so excited. Again, go to our socials, Twitter and Instagram. We'll have it up. That's at the WOSO Show, WOSO. And make sure to do it before Sunday when games kick off, because otherwise you can't do it.
And that is everything from us here at the Women's Soccer Show. Make sure you check out our Patreon, where we're back with News in 10. Plus, we have all of our unedited interviews and all of the content. Fits and Kits is coming back because we know we had some thoughts about Megan Rapinoe's final outfit.
Did you ever? The chat really popped off with that one. I loved it. Other people had opinions about it. And for those of you curious about NWSL free agency, that was our News in 10 topic this week. So head over to our Patreon and you will hear it all there. So for us here at the Women's Soccer Show, I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.